Assalamu alaikum. This is the last part of the stages of listening, and in this video I'm going to tell you about post listening and follow up stage along with the activities that can be used in these stages. Basically, the purpose of post listening activity is to reflect on what the students have already listened and what were their experience. This is a stage where you take them beyond the listening text and use it as a springboard for the further language practice. So basically, the purpose of the post listening is to check the understanding of the students of the listening text. There can be many activities depending on the level of the students and the text that they have listened. And the basic purpose is to make them speak, to make them learn the language in a better way. The first activity that is mentioned here is mind the transcript. At this point, you can ask students to look over the transcript and see what they might have had troubled understanding. Some ELT experts protest against this, but in my opinion as well, that this is good because through this, when the students are given the transcript, they can easily see what the pronunciation of the words and what they have missed, what they have misunderstood. So they can easily learn the written and the spoken language. Second is set a speaking task. So some activity can be given in the post listening which should be based on speaking skill, and obviously it should be related to the text that they have listened. Detect problem. Detect problem means at this stage you can have a discussion with the students in order to find out their problems in understanding the text. That can also be done as a post listening activity. Fourth is personalize the listening text. Personalize the listening text means you can, for example, listening a monologue of a person expressing their opinion. You can ask the students to tell whether you agree with it or not, whether whatever is said by that particular character in the listening text is okay, good or not, what is their opinion. Okay, so personalize the listening text means whatever they have listened, you can ask the opinion of the students on that particular text. The first is change the title. Change the title of the story means is the title is already given to the students and they have gone through the whole. I mean that they have gone through, they have listened to the whole text. So now is the time to ask them to change the title of the story or whatever they have listened. Second, the sixth one is creating new text. Creating new text means the genre of the text. If the text was a narrative one, you can ask them to make a role play or to change it into a drama. If it was a drama, sort of means if there were dialogues, you can ask them to make a narrated one. The seventh type is devising questions for interview. If for example there are two characters in the text that they have listened, you can later on, which actually this is not in was in the text, so this is what students are supposed to do relating to that particular text which they have listened. If the character, for example, I have given you the example of Donald Duck toy sailboat, I have told you this story in the class. So if we keep that story in mind as a listening text, then you can ask the students to devise question for taking the interview of the Donald Duck. What was his feelings when Chip and Dale took this toy sailboat? Something like some questions related to that. Number 8 is changing an ending. So over here, students are supposed to change an ending. In while listening, you can ask them to complete the ending of the story, whereas over here, because it's a post listening activity and the students have already listened to the whole story or whole text, so now is the time you can ask the students to change the ending of this story. Ninth type is role play, something which might have happened. The focus is which might have happened. It means that was not happened in the story. So you can ask them something else that might have happened. Like for example, if you have studied um, Story of an Hour. The ending was, uh, if please do go through that story on your own. You can easily ask the students to change an ending as well, or to make that role play of that thing which has not happened. Like for example, if in the story husband did not arrive and it actually arrived. Basically in the story, at the end, husband was alive and the wife was thinking that he has died, and at the end husband returned and wife died because of that shock. So this was basically the story. So you can ask the students to change that role play. Maybe the wife will become very happy that husband is alive, or you can ask them to change the ending. So this is somewhat, you can say, similar, but focus is different. 10th type is expressing opinions on a topic. This is also somewhat similar to number 4 that we have just discussed. You can also ask them different opinions on the topic or on the conversation that was happening in the text. 11th is describing one's reaction. Here, describing one's reaction means that, like for example, if the story is, um, like for example, if we take the story of Donald Duck, so you can ask the students that in case you were in place of Donald Duck and Chip and Dale are going to take your toy sailboat, then how will you react? What will you do if you were in that place? So such questions can be asked in describing one's reaction. The last activity that is mentioned here is focusing on a grammar point. So over here, the main focus is only and only on the grammar point. If the tenses are used, then you can ask the students to change the tenses. You can ask the students to focus on the articles that are used, or you can ask the students to focus on the prepositions, and then or and sometimes tenses as well. Okay, so these are some of the activities of post listening that can be used, and there are a number of other activities as well which you can easily which are easily available on the internet. Now here, as I've already told you, that follow-up activities are of two type: extensive listening and intensive listening. Extensive listening is listening for pleasure, and intensive listening is listening for purpose. Okay, so extensive listening, because it is only for pleasure, so you can give any task to the students to gather any information related to the topic that they have listened on their own, which is not supposed to be checked by the teacher, or marks are not given on that particular thing. And it is not necessary that it should be related with the audio that they have listened. It is also not necessary. You can give it, but it's not necessary. Secondly, intensive listening is listening for purpose, like for example, carrying a survey and writing a report. So you can give the students a survey, like for example, if the text that they have listened was related with computer or the laptop. So you can ask the students to do a survey related with the importance of using laptops or internet, and then you can ask them to write a report, or it's a kind of a short research. So that's all for listening. I'm going to give you some listening activities and practice.